All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Aaron. I am the brick scavenger. Early morning wake up call today. The puppy decided to get up early, 5 a.m. I got up, took the dog outside, it did its business, and went back to sleep. But I poured coffee. We're ready to roll. So we're going to talk modular integrated landscaping system today, otherwise known as MILS plates. We've spent a few videos talking about MILS plates, building MILS plates, all those kinds of things in our amusement park specifically, but we haven't really showed you what the benefits of MILS plates are, what maybe some of the drawbacks are, and even how to build one. So I figured today is going to be all about MILS plates. Should be a fun video, should show you some good examples. We're going to show you how to build one, maybe even help you decide whether MILS plates are right for you. So stick around. Coffee's hot. Let's roll it. All right, have you guys ever built a modular building or something else and tried to move it and just been scared out of your mind? That's probably because these are built on what's called a base plate. So very quick Lego terminology here. There's a big difference between a plate and a base plate, okay? Base plates are these super thin, flimsy plates that often come in modular buildings and other things like that. They're fine to build on. This is a small version, but usually they can be like 32 by 32. But they don't do a very good job of holding a significant amount of weight, and you really have to be careful when you're moving them. Meanwhile, if we're talking a plate, it's significantly thicker than a base plate is. It's more rigid, and it will kind of hold more weight than a base plate will. So MILS, the whole idea of MILS is to create a system that first and foremost makes it much easier to transport your big builds. That might be to just transport it across the room. That might be to move it around a table so you can rearrange the orientation of your various buildings, or it might be to pick your building up, put it in the car, and take it to a convention where you want to meet up with other adult Lego fans and, incorporate your builds with theirs into one big display. So basically a MILS plate, the idea of a MILS plate is it's a base plate on the bottom. It's got some bricks kind of in the middle of a sandwich, and then it's got plates on top. Now this is an example of a huge one. This is a 48 by 48. But look, I can hold this thing pretty flat and it's got no bend to it, right? And this will allow you to much more easily transport your modulars or other heavy builds around without the sag and scare of it kind of, sagging and then falling off or getting destroyed. Now, there are some other benefits to MILS plates that I'd like to show you now. Here's a good look at our Heart Lake area, which is not built on MILS plates. It is just built on standard base plates. Now notice that the lake level is actually above the level of the grassy area, and that's because the lake was built on top of a green base plate. Now, maybe you don't care about that, but if you are trying to really be artistic and sort of accurate about your builds, you probably want the water level to actually be lower than the grassy level. That would require, if you were building on a standard plate or base plate, you to build up this grassy area so that the water level could be lower than the grassy area. Well, MILS plates actually make that a lot easier. So here's an example from my Ewok Village. You can see that we built the MILS plate up using brown to represent the forest floor, but now the stream level is actually below ground level. And so I think, and I think you probably agree that looks better than when the water level is actually at ground level or even above it. So that's one of the benefits to MILS above and beyond being sturdy. Just as another quick example of building sort of below ground level, this is the train track that's going to run around my amusement park. And I want the train track to eventually be below ground level. So now passengers can be standing at the train station, and the train obviously will actually have tracks that are slightly below ground level. So this is an incomplete MILS plate where I MILS plated most of the plate, but left some of it empty so that in this case, the train track is below ground level. All right, so major benefits include, as I said, sturdy base plate and as well being able to build sort of below ground level. The major drawbacks to MILS, I would say, first and foremost is cost. It's going to cost you about $20 in parts just to build the plate itself. And you're already talking a couple $100 for a modular building. 20 extra bucks can be costly. The other drawback I would say to using MILS plates is the hassle. It takes a little bit of extra time to build the MILS plate. Is that a small drawback? Yeah, but if you get your building, you're ready to go, you went to the Lego store, you're so excited, and the first thing that you have to do is build the MILS plate and have the parts to the MILS plate before you can ever build your modular building, you may roll your eyes and be like, oh man, I'm not really sure I want to do this. So hassle is a small drawback as well. Okay, one additional drawback real quick is that if you already have an established city and you want to convert to MILS plates, you're going to have to convert the whole thing. You can see that I had some modular buildings already built on standard base plates, and then I converted the Jazz Club to MILS and my sidewalks to MILS, and now the rest of my buildings are actually below ground level. So if you're going to make this transition, you're going to want to do it with everything else, and then you're going to have to go back and, get all of your other modulars or whatever buildings on MILS. So if you can start from the beginning on MILS, it's not so bad, but the extra conversion of all your older buildings can be a little bit of a drawback as well. All right, if you've made it this far in the video and you're thinking, all right, you've sold me, I want to take a look at a MILS plate, how do I build one? Here we go. So we're going to start with a 32 by 32 base plate. I've done these with 48 by 48 base plates before and it works fine, but for the purposes of today, we're going to go 32 by 32. You're going to need one of those. You're going to need some plates. I'm using a bunch of 4x4s, which I would say is the most commonly used plate to make these. I'm going to use dark bluish gray. You're going to need some Technic bricks. You can use 1x2. Today, we're going to go with a bunch of 1x4s. And then you're going to need a bunch of 2x2 bricks. Again, not important exactly that they're 2x2. You could very easily do this with 2x3 or 2x4. But again, most commonly used with 2x2s. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put a 2x2 brick in each corner of your base plate. And then on either side of them or the corners, you're going to put your Technic bricks like so. All right, the idea here is this is going to be sort of the meaty layer of your sandwich, which is going to have a base plate, and then the meat will be the bricks, and then on top will be these plates, okay? These are Technic bricks specifically because you can put Technic pins in them, and you can imagine having one of these MILS plates here, another one right here, and you'll be able to lock them together very easily. That's the purpose of the Technic brick. All right, then what you're gonna do is you're basically going to distribute these 2x2 bricks throughout so that these plates can sit on top of them. And you don't need a ton of overlap here, but you need just enough so that you're leaving some space, some kind of tunnel work under here, and these plates will go on top like this, all right? Something like that. I'm gonna go off camera and build some more of this up and then come back so that this video doesn't get too long. Okay, so I've got these 2x2 bricks set up here, and then I've got my army of 4x4 plates. And we're just gonna start locking these in as we go. This again is sort of the top level of our sandwich. Now, the distribution of these bricks is important. The idea here is I want this 2x2 brick to actually have connection to 4 different plates. That will help the ultimately the MILS plate bend less. And so you'll see it's connected to this one via that one point. The second stud will connect that one. the third will connect this one, and the fourth will connect this one, okay? So that way, everything is sort of more integrated and locked together as a whole, preventing further bending of your plate when you're done. Now, could you just cover this entire plate in bricks and then add these plates in? My dog is going crazy in the background. If you guys can hear that, apologies. Yes, you could, in theory, do that, but it is very strongly recommended that you not do that for two specific reasons. Reason number one is it's just more costly. It's not gonna actually help you at all. It's not gonna be any really that much stronger, and it will be much more expensive because you'll have to use up a bunch of brick. But the second reason is you can actually take advantage of the voids here underneath these plates. If you have plans to light up your city, for example, all of the wires can be incredibly unsightly. If you've got, for example, street lights going through here and you need all the wires to be winding through here, it's incredibly unsightly. But what you can do is you can actually wire the lights underneath this through these channels so that the wires are completely, invisible once this MILS plate is complete. So that's a huge benefit. So don't cover your entire plate in brick. Leave those gaps for other reasons, okay? Now, I intentionally stopped there so that I can show you something else. This can get costly, right? To make this plate, it's gonna take 64 of these plates, which I'm assuming most of you do not have in your house. So you could place an order, and like I said, these MILS plates can get very costly because of that. But you can take advantage of other pieces that you might have in your house. Okay, apologies for the choppy video. The dogs were absolutely intolerable, but they're outside now. So as I was saying, this can get really costly, but you might be able to take advantage of other parts you have around the house. It doesn't have to be only 4x4s. Okay, here we have a 4x10 plate. Now, does it line up perfectly? No, you can see right now that if I put this in right here, that top left corner is not gonna be supported. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to add an extra brick in there, and it's gonna change the distribution of the way these bricks need to go in so that everything is supported. Usually what I'll do is I'll actually just add them to the plate first and then lock them in like this. But that'll work absolutely just fine, no problem at all, okay? So don't be afraid to use other plates that you have in the house to save you some money, because like I said, this can get very costly in a hurry if you're not careful. So I'm gonna finish this row off real quick here, and then I'm actually going to stop right there for a specific reason that we'll talk about in a minute. But we are almost there. I'm not sure I actually don't have a 2x4. You can see at the top here, I'm gonna need a 2x4 to finish this off. And I'm gonna need a 1x brick to finish off this. So I'm gonna go get those. And then we're gonna talk about why I left a void right here. Okay, there's nothing sacred about the color of this middle section. I used white just because I happen to have that brick, but when I ran downstairs to finish this off, I found a blue brick. You're not gonna see that the meat part of the sandwich there. So I can totally get away with blue. So if you're feeling like you wanna make these MILS plates, but you're being cost conscious, use parts you have. And then I've got my 2x4 plate in there to finish it off, okay? So, I'm gonna leave this part void actually intentionally for a moment. I'm gonna take these off because this is what we talked about earlier, being able to build below ground level. You can already see that this is gonna be much stronger and less flimsy than a standard base plate. But now I've left myself enough room for train track. Or I could very easily, make this into a pond and, put boats or ducks or whatever you want in there. That way the water level is actually below the ground level. You could just as easily finish this thing off with these dark bluish gray plates, which I'm gonna actually do in a minute just to show you the completed version of one. But very, very simple to build a MILS plate
with or without building below ground level in there. Okay, MILS plate complete. Now I did not have enough 4x4s to finish this off. So you'll notice over here, I used some 2x6s to finish it off. Perfectly acceptable. I don't recommend doing the whole plate that way because things won't lock together as well as 4x or 6x, but to finish it off, perfectly fine. Now, check it out. This is extremely rigid now. This is not gonna bend much, right? It's gonna just hold very flat, even when I'm just holding it by the corner, as compared to a base plate, which you can see doesn't even have any brick on it, and it's already bending and wobbling, right? So you get a lot more strength from the MILS plate than you do a base plate.
Okay, so at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, MILS plates look great, but do I really need one? Do I need to build up all of my Lego on MILS plates? And I think the short answer is, if you're a casual Lego fan who goes to the Lego store, buys a modular building, builds it up, puts it on a shelf, displays it, looks at it, enjoys it, the answer is no. You do not need a MILS plate. But if you have aspirations of having a huge city, or you want to be able to move buildings around, or build things below ground level, or even take some of your buildings or your builds to conventions, to brick fairs, things like that, then yeah, MILS plates can be super helpful. Keep in mind, cost. These plates, these base plates right here, can be $8 a piece just to get these things at a Target or a Walmart. Add in the cost of all of the plates, the bricks, the Technic. You're probably talking about $20 to build one of these up. I would say it's gonna be about $20. So that's gotta be the budget. If that works for your budget and you're gonna get really serious about building Lego, then yeah, you should consider MILS plates because it does make for a more sturdy experience. It makes for a more artistic and realistic experience. And I've enjoyed the conversion. I think it's fun, but it's not for everybody. Okay, so super quick summary about MILS plates. Modular integrated landscaping system. Are these right for me? Pros, you're gonna build a much stronger base plate to build upon and be able to move things around. You are also going to be able to build below ground level, which is a huge benefit. You're gonna be able to travel with these things if that's important to you. You're gonna be able to run wires underneath your city so that they're not exposed in your displays. Also a huge benefit. And in terms of if you ever have aspirations of building things and then interlocking them with other people's builds, maybe you're going to a convention, maybe you want to be a part of a lug group, things like that, then those can all be a universal language for you guys to speak together. Major drawbacks, cost, you're talking about $20 per plate, something like that. And another drawback would be once you're committing to it, you're kind of committing it to your per whole city. Otherwise, buildings are going to be on a very different level. And then, of course, time. It takes a little bit of time and hassle to order all the parts and things like that. Using parts that you have already at home can help you with that. So if you're looking to learn a little bit more about MILS plates, hopefully that was helpful to you. You can kill the video now if that's all you wanted. But I figured I'd wrap this video up. I'm gonna go take you for a brief tour of my city, show you some places where I built up the city pre-MILS plates and talk about how I may convert them and why. And then I'm gonna show you a few things where I have used MILS plates, why I'm enjoying that. So if you wanna take that tour with me, feel free to stick around in the video. But if all you wanted to do is learn a little bit more about MILS plates, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I am Aaron, I am the Brick Scavenger. Until next time, happy building out there, guys.
All right, so here's a quick look at Elvendale. Elves is one of my favorite lines to do with my kids. We can get into Elvendale more in another video. But we built Elvendale well before we did MILS plates. So you can see that we've got like this kind of like split river or stream going up either side here. And the stream is slightly below ground level, but that's only because we used a ton of brick to kind of build up this area right here. And then over here, you can see it's kind of getting borderline on the river being below ground level.
So will I convert this to mills? I highly doubt it, just because of the time factor. Do I wish, going back in time, that I could convert this to mills and start from the beginning with mills? Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be a nicer look.
Okay, here's another example. This is kind of our little downtown area where we've got some modular buildings going, and we've got this sort of center city square thing here. And this is not built on mills plates, but let's just say, as an example, we wanted to switch this building and that building for whatever reason. Now you've got like the pucker factor of having to pick up those buildings and then switch them. And they're just built on base plates, so wobbly, you're kind of using two hands and hoping things don't fall off. If these were built on mills plates, then moving them is much less scary because the bottom layer is so rigid that they're not going to bend and fall off. Secondly, you can see that the sidewalk is basically at ground level. Oftentimes, in cities, sidewalks are sort of a step up from the road, which we do not have here. If these were all built on mills plates, you could have that. Is that a small and subtle thing? Yeah, absolutely. Is it important to some Lego builders? It is. Again, a benefit to mills plates. Here's a look at our beach and boardwalk scene, which is super fun. But if you get in close, again, built before mills plates, and the beach is just it's like very flat compared to the water level. Usually when you go to the beach, I feel like the beach kind of gently slopes down, the sand slopes down towards the water. Again, not a conversion we're likely to make, but if you can go back in time, it would probably be nicer to be on mills plates so that sand could slope down. The other thing is, you'll notice back there that the boardwalk is elevated relative to the beach, but that's because I built like a wooden step up, and we have not yet covered it all up. You can see I've tried with some of the boardwalk and some rock pieces. But if you really wanted to, or you didn't have access to that wood, you could build all of that up via, mills plate, which is what I've done with the volcano roller coaster you may have seen in previous videos, but I will also show you in this one in just a second. All right, our winter village is an absolute mess. But here's an example of something that is not plated at all yet, and I don't intend to mills plate this. I think this would look just fine being built and organized on standard white 32 by 32 base plates. And this winter, hopefully, we're gonna tackle this and make it look nice and everything like that. But I don't think I need much elevation change, nor do I think I'll be moving stuff around very much. So here's an example of where I think white base plates to cover the snow will be sufficient, and no need to have mills plates in my winter village area. The amusement park is where I've been spending most of my time recently, and I have been both converting to mills plates and starting with mills plates as I work on the amusement park. You can see that these modular buildings on this side were built pre-mills plates, and so they're all gonna have to get converted. And you can see that this Main Street walkway with the cobblestone drive is built on mills plates, which means that all of the modular buildings are actually a full brick lower. So that's why the conversion has to happen. I did build the jazz club on mills plates, so you can see that is at the same level as the street. But here we have the Palace Cinema that is lower. So we're definitely gonna have to convert these modulars eventually to mills plates, and that'll happen with time. This is the walkway once you get through Main Street to go and get a good look at the Disney Castle. A little bit of a mess right now, but on either side of the walkway, we've got partial mills plates. You can see here, and these are intentionally built so that we can have the pond, which will have fountains or ducks or whatever in it eventually, can be at a lower level than the grassy area. So that was done intentionally. And then you can see over here what will eventually be a volcanic dinosaur themed roller coaster was built on. I don't even know if you can call this a MILS plate, but in order to elevate it to volcanic levels, we built this sort of massive MILS plate that is 16 bricks high. So you can see that there is the base plate down there. Then we built way up on brick, and then the lime green and yellow plates are sort of the top of the MILS plate. And then this bright green is for the coaster, what it was built on pre-MILS. So I actually just moved the coaster onto a ginormous MILS plate. The other benefit is it's gonna let me have the train track go underneath the volcano. So there's some work to be done to cover all of that up and make it look volcanic, but MILS plates will help with that as well. And then of course we talked about the partial MILS plate. This actually, you can see right here, is totally separate, okay? And then when I slide it into place, it will allow me to be flush, but this one is going to have a train station or something right here, and the train tracks will be below ground level. Here's a look at the Ewok Village, or as much of the Ewok Village as we've completed so far. My vision for this Ewok Village is that it's kind of set in a little valley here on Endor, okay, where they have a stream that runs through near their Ewok Village, and obviously streams run mostly, you know, like downhill. So here the stream is going uphill a little bit to where if you go up the hill far enough, you're going to hit some rocks, and on the other side of the rocks, there's going to be a lake, okay? So you can see that I actually had to build up the MILS plates right here pretty high because the lake level is going to be sort of above Endor's, you know, Ewok Village. And then it's slowly going to get lower and lower as the water runs downhill. So my MILS plates get a little bit lower and lower. And then the stream, you know, goes through. But because of doing the MILS plates, it does allow me to have, it's kind of hard to see at this angle, but the stream is like, you know, a plate or maybe even two below the ground level. Maybe you can see it better over here, you know, which is, I think, a little bit more realistic. And imagine having to build up all of this ground significantly higher. If you were just using a standard base plate that was blue, you'd have to build up a lot in order to get ground level above that blue stream. So that has helped me, MILS plates have helped me get this river or stream sort of below ground level pretty effectively, I think. Long way to go to finish off Endor, but it's been a fun build for sure. Check out my hang gliding Ewok. We're gonna have some cliff diving Ewoks and some other Ewoks over here in the pond. I actually have visions eventually of extending this out and having another table that will be some islanders, and then the islanders will be able to use the same lake as the Ewoks. Maybe there'll be some islander Ewok battles in the future. We'll see. So many projects. I need more time. If you want to see future updates on the Ewok Village, or maybe even some battles between Ewoks and Islanders, feel free to subscribe. We have many, many more updates, and we do daily, well, maybe not daily, but day in the life of the Lego stay-at-home dad. So many more Lego projects coming. That's it for me today, guys. I hope this was a helpful video on MILS plates, why I think they're useful, why people use them, how to build them, all that kind of stuff. We will see you next time on the Brick Scavenger channel.